Okay, so what I just did was we're sort of taping the lecture. I'll explain more about that later in two ways, and I forgot to start my end of the taping, but hopefully you got some of that. Okay. All right, so there's my name, there's my contact information. Let me change the lights a little bit. Okay, so I'm Joe Zachary. There's my office. If you've ever been up to the School of Computing headquarters to meet with an advisor up there, Vicki or someone, I'm in that same suite of offices. There's my email address and my phone number. My office hours are Tuesday and Thursday from 1 to 4. And what that means is, during those hours, I'll be in my office with the door open, ready to answer questions. Now, you may show up and I'll be working on my computer. That's because I just don't sit there and twiddle my thumbs when no one's in there. But just let me know you're there and I'll help you. I also have an open door policy. And the open door policy means other times, if I'm in my office with the door open, I'm willing to be interrupted. Unless, if I'm talking to another person, you need to wait till the other person is done. But otherwise, just let me know you're there and I'll help you. When I really got to prepare for something and I'm really busy, I close the door. And then you just got to come back another time. So the only difference with the office hours is I promise to be there during those hours. But I'm in my office a lot of other times. Now, I know I went through college without talking to very many professors at all. I was kind of afraid to talk to professors. They seemed kind of intimidating. And you don't need to be intimidated by me. I'm happy to talk to you. And I welcome your visit. So this course is, it's an introduction to object-oriented programming. You can also think of it as an introduction to computer science in the sense that I'm going to try to teach you to think like a computer scientist. And the particular programming language we're going to be using is Java. So I guess it's also an introduction to Java. Now, typically on the first day of class, first thing you do is go through the syllabus, explain how the course will be run. And that's important, but I'm going to put that off for a little bit because there's some key concepts I want to introduce you right up at the front. This isn't going to tell you anything about how to program in Java. It's going to give you some terms that we're going to use when we talk about programming in Java. So 4 key concepts. And the first key concept is decomposition. Okay? So what can you imagine? What might decomposition mean in the context of programming? Yeah?
Would it be breaking down a problem into smaller problems that we can actually solve and then put together so that we can actually make a perfect program?
Okay.
Kind of like classes.
Yeah. So he pretty much said what it says here on the slide. Dividing a problem into simpler problems whose solutions can be combined to solve the original problem. And that's what anyone who programs has to do. Whether they're writing a very simple program or a very complex program, they're taking their problem, making one or more simpler problems that they know how to solve, and then combining those into an overall solution. It's easy to define, it's hard to get good at it. That takes practice. Okay, we'll be talking about algorithms. Can someone else tell me what an algorithm is? Yeah? You said a formula for a problem. Okay, that's one take. Yeah, in the back there. Say it again. Okay, a finite, unambiguous series of instructions to solve a problem. Okay, and you've got a different take. Yeah?
A method, an instruction manual on how to do something.
Okay, so an instruction manual on how to do something. So yeah, I guess you could find an algorithm for changing a flat tire in your car manual. So I'll say it's a step-by-step description of how to carry out a task. That's an algorithm. All right. I've noticed a lot of you, I can remember the very first time I taught a class. And the thing that really blew me away is I would say stuff and people would write it down. And I realized then I had to be careful about what I said if people are going to be writing it down. And I noticed a lot of you writing stuff down that I say. That's okay. I have no objection to that. I just want to tell you that the slides are available online on Canvas. So if you write anything down, you don't need to write down what it says on the slides. Write down ideas that occur to you while I'm talking. Representation. What's representation have to do with computer science? Programming. Yeah?
So everything you do is representation of what you're trying to accomplish.
He said everything you do is a representation of what you're trying to accomplish. Not exactly the sense I had in mind. That's fine, but yeah.
What you coding usually, what you put down is generally represented as something when you do it on screen. That way.
Well, I have some examples that'll maybe clear up what I'm talking about. So I'll put off trying to describe an example. I have some pictures. And it's related to decomposition. It's a plan for building something from simpler pieces. And when I show you my example, I think you'll understand what I mean better. And finally, abstraction. This is really the key concept, the key skill you have to prosper in this class or any other class in computer science. What is abstraction? Someone, yeah.
Abstraction, from what I've been told, was that you don't have to fully understand something. You kind of oversimplify it so you can understand more. Like someone can drive a car, but yet they don't know how to do it, but they know the basics
Okay.
in order to.
So he's saying you don't have to fully understand something in order to use it. That's kind of getting at it. Let me take your car example and run with it there. So I drive a Hyundai Sonata. But I don't have any trouble jumping in someone else's car and driving it, even if it's made by a different manufacturer. So in a sense, all cars are the same to me, right? I'm not surprised when I get in a car. You know, it may look different and it's really completely different under the hood, but to drive one, it's pretty much the same, no matter what kind of car it is. So yeah.
Okay, so that's like functions when you put in the parameters and you get something out, but you don't need to know how it works, right?
Yes, he gave an example that uses terms I haven't talked about yet, but you know, that's exactly right. In the back there.
I was going to say abstract concepts that work for multiple different programming languages.
Okay, abstract what was the word?
Concepts.
Concepts that work across programming languages. Okay.
Maybe just one of like the simpler pieces of the representation thing that's completed.
Okay. So everyone is sort of approaching it. So here's my definition. Taking a simpler view of something by selectively ignoring details. So how does that relate to my example of driving a car? When you drive a car, and when you claim that you can drive any car, and say any car in the parking lot out there, you have a key to it. What details are we ignoring? What details am I ignoring when I go out and start driving? Yeah.
You're ignoring what's under the hood. That doesn't matter to you. Just kind of
Right.
steering.
I'm ignoring, how the air conditioner works, or how many cylinders are in the engine, or what kind of transmission there is. Within limits, automatic and manual is clearly a big difference. But so I ignore those differences because they aren't important to the task of driving. Okay, the task of driving, what if some steering wheels, if you turn this way, need you to turn left? That would be a detail you couldn't ignore, but it's pretty standard. Okay, so that's abstraction. And abstraction is the key. Out of all those, abstraction is the key. Because computers are so complicated, there is no one who can keep in their mind every detail about a computer when they're writing a program. They have to ignore details all the time. And that's true sort of at all levels of programming. So let's go through these with examples. Suppose we talk about decomposition. What are the parts in which a bicycle is made? What are the pieces? Give me one piece. Yeah.
The fork.
Said the fork. Okay. That's this piece right here. Yeah. Crank. Yeah.
The frame.
Frame. Yeah.
The handle.
Handlebars. Sure.
Wheels.
Wheels.
The seat.
Seat. Yeah.
Bricks.
Brakes. Okay. Now I want you to notice. I don't think anyone, maybe with the exception of fork, was describing something that is a single thing. Right? No one said ball bearing. No one said spring. No one said chain link. Right? They were talking in terms of, they weren't decomposing it into the simplest possible pieces from which you make a bicycle. They were decomposing it into useful systems. the braking system, the crankset. Yeah.
So rather than decomposing the word into individual letters, you're taking it to its syllables.
Perhaps. Yeah. So here's sort of a bad way to decompose a bicycle. Well, here's some of the. Okay. So that's, most of you said those things. Someone said most of those things. So that's a bad decomposition. Because imagine trying to explain to someone how to assemble a bike if those are the pieces you haven't used. You had to explain to them what to do with all the ball bearings. That's a chain there, I guess. So at least it's not decomposed with good things. Okay? So what would be a better picture if you want to try and describe the concept of decomposing something? Yeah.
You could break up into its systems and then break those systems down.
Right. So we would have pictures. Like, the wheel's a pretty good system. That's a good chunk of decomposition. But you could then, if someone says, but how do you build a wheel? Then you could start talking about how to decompose that into spokes and so forth. So we want to decompose it to the point where you've got discrete pieces that it's relatively easy to explain how to put them together. So you can decompose too far. Now, this isn't the same type of picture, but it gets closer to the idea where we've got cranksets and rear derailleur and front derailleur and so on. So that's sort of a higher level of decomposition. I really couldn't find a picture that captured what I was after. Okay, algorithm. So it's sort of a list of steps to solve the problem. So let's define this is triple function up there. It takes in an integer and returns, let's say, a positive integer, and returns true if it's divisible by 3, or false otherwise. So should is triple of 9 be true or false? True. Yeah. What about 10? False. What about 2301? True. Well, you're good at this. Okay. So what is an algorithm for deciding if a number is divisible by 3? Okay?
You take in a parameter, then you divide it by 3, and, well, no, you wouldn't divide it, you'd find the modulo of 3, and if 3 is equal to 0,
okay,
that would be true, then else false.
All right, so he's suggesting a way, what he said was basically divide it by 3 and see if there's a remainder. If the remainder is non-zero, then it's not divisible by 3. But division is hard. I can't divide 2302 very quickly by 3, but I can look at it and immediately determine that it's not a multiple of 3. So what am I doing? Yeah.
If you add up every digit and a number, if they add up to 3, 6, or 9, or some other multiple of 3, it's divisible by 3.
Okay. So the idea is if you add up all the digits, you get a new number. If that number is divisible by 3, the original number is divisible by 3. Otherwise, it's not. So that's the basis of an algorithm to decide if something's divisible by 3. We repeat these steps until an answer is reported. Add up all the digits of n and make the sum the new value of n. If n is a single digit, then you're done and you report true when n is 3, 6, or 9, or you report false otherwise. So let's see how this works. So let's suppose we want to know if that number is divisible by 3. We add up, we start with n being that. What's our next value of n going to be? Right. We add it up. I'll just tell you, it adds up to 27. That's not a single digit yet, so what do? We add them up again, and now we've got a single digit, and we can say, yeah, the original was divisible by 3 because 1 and 9 is divisible by 3. Okay? On the other hand, if you've got a number like that, you add up all the digits. You get 26. You add those, you get 8. That's a single digit. It's not the 3, 6, or 9, so we report false. So that's just an example of an algorithm. I'm sure you've seen other algorithms before. Okay, algorithms and abstraction. This is something someone mentioned. So suppose you're using a programming language and someone describes this is triple method to you and says this thing will determine if a number is divisible by 3, and here's how it works. Which details about is triple can you ignore when you use it in a program? Yeah?
Pretty much everything for the input and the output, right?
He said pretty much everything but the input and the output. In particular, what are you ignoring? Yeah?
How does this triple work?
How does it work? The how does it work doesn't matter. And so anytime you're using a programming language and it gives you a way of dividing or a way of adding or a way of deciding if something is a triple, you don't have to know how it works. You just have to know what it does. If you know what it does, then you can use it. Now imagine if you refuse to use something until you understood how it worked. So where would that lead you? You desperately need to have an is triple method, but you insist on knowing how it works, so you're told how it works. Would that be the end? Do you then go use is triple and be happy? What would happen next? Yeah?
You have to understand the hardware.
Well, before we get to the hardware, what do you have to understand?
How the language like
Well, how do you add? Right? You have to add to this algorithm works. So how do you add? And then understand that. Maybe you've got to understand how the hardware works. And to understand how the hardware works, you've got to understand something about electronics. And somewhere down there, you're getting into quantum mechanics or something, or at least electromagnetism. So at some point, you got to say enough and ignore the irrelevant details. So we ignore the details and simply think of it as is triple. We think of is triple in terms of what it does, not how it does it. So that's an example of abstraction. It is absolutely key. Okay, how is a number represented on a computer? Someone said in binary, yeah? Ones and zeros. Let's see what I said. A sequence of bits, a sequence of ones and zeros, yeah?
It'd be a byte for the American Standard Association for Computers, right? Because there's 8 bits and then it goes to
Yeah. But
for that character.
those details of how it's organized in the bytes are kind of irrelevant in my example. So I'll abstract away and just say it's a sequence of bits. So that is a sequence of bits. What number is that? We're using a standard binary representation. You've got to stare at it a bit if you even know how to do the conversion, so I'll just tell you, that's 52. So this is representation in action. We have a plan. We got these abstract concepts like 52 that we got to represent. We got to keep track of them in the program. So we have to come up with and all we have to work with are bits. So we got to come up with some plan for representing any integer we have in mind with a sequence of bits. And once we have that plan working, we can put things like 52 into our program without really understanding that that's what is really inside it. So that is a representation strategy, representing numbers in terms of binary, and it's also abstraction, because we are ignoring the details that don't matter and just saying, okay, I trust that the numbers are represented correctly, and then we could just use 52. It's a lot easier to think 52 when you look at that than it is to look at that and think about something. Okay, how is an image represented on a computer?
Numbers.
Yeah. Numbers. Sequence of numbers. For example, that's an image in hex, the base 16. That's the base 16 representation of an image. So quick, what is it an image of? Is it a big image, a small image?
Well, pretty small.
Yeah, it turns out it's pretty small. Okay? So if you're thinking about a program, would you rather think in terms of, yeah, it's a picture of kind of a stubby pencil, or would you rather think in terms of 89504E4700, so on? If you prefer to think of it in terms of the stubby pencil, that's abstraction in action. You're ignoring irrelevant details. You just say it's an image, and you do things with images. You don't get, once you have to delve, if your job is to make images work, yeah, you got to deal with this. But if your job is to use images, ignore the details. Just use the images. So again, representation and abstraction in action. So this just sums up things that I've already said. Okay, computer programs are a bunch of ones and zeros at some level. But that's a really unhelpful way to think about a program. Bunch of ones and zeros. It's a sequence of letters and symbols. Yeah, that's true, but again, not a very useful way to think about it. It's a computer program is a large collection of simple objects and operations. That's true, but you got to find a way to think of programs as small collections of powerful objects and operations, or all hope is lost. So if programming meant creating the right string of ones and zeros, that's what you had to do to program, is to start typing ones and zeros into your program work. Yeah, maybe you could make a program that was this long work. But could you make a program that was 1,000,000 bits long work? Probably very hard. It's not a very human-friendly programming language. So the trick to programming, we haven't really talked about programming yet, but I'll just tell you the trick to programming is being able to take a problem, or take a program, look at a program, and think of it as something that's small, that involves a small number of things and actions that interact in predictable ways. And that's true whether you're working on the first assignment, CS 1410, or if you're working on some program that's millions of lines long. You've got to have some way, even when it's millions of lines long, you don't think about each line individually. There's some logical way that those lines are grouped into a small number of chunks that can be combined. Then you got to look at the chunks and figure out how they work, and look at those pieces, look how they work. It's always abstraction. It's a fight to make it simple. So key idea, computer programs don't just communicate computations to computers, they communicate computations to people. So a lot of times you ask someone, what's a computer program? You say, oh, it's instructions for a computer to do something. But yes, computers have to read the program and do something with it, but also people have to be able to read a program. So the programs that you write, we'll grade it in two ways. One is we'll run some test cases on it and see if it does what it's supposed to do. The other is we'll hand it to a TA and see if they can understand it. So what it boils down to, are you able to describe what's supposed to happen to the computer, and are you able to describe what's supposed to happen to a TA? So computer programs have dual purposes. Okay. At this point, I'm going to stop. That was sort of my high-level picture of the whole course. The concepts are going to organize the whole course. Now I'm about to go down into more detail in the syllabus. So I want to see if there are any questions about what I just talked about. I love it when the students ask questions. You've been good about answering mine, but yes?
You wouldn't mind going back to the image, the hexadecimal.
Sure.
Where exactly would the file extension be stored so that the computer knows use this protocol for this?
Yeah. He's asking me where is the file extension stored. I doubt file extension is stored anywhere in there. You have to know what kind of image it is in order to, is it a PNG, a GIF, a JPEG? Someone would have to tell you what type, and then you can use it. Maybe it's possible that the first few digits describe what the number is, but I don't know. I've been programming for 45 years, and I can't answer a simple question like that. So how did I get along all these years if I can't even answer a question about an image in my own slides?
Do you really need to put together your bike and ride bike?
Right. Well, he asked, do I have to be able to put together my bike to ride a bike? I'll have to put the wheel on in order to lead the way, but other than that. Right. This is abstraction in action. Any other questions? Okay. So there's a syllabus. You need to read it. There's a lot of detail in there. Explanations about late day policies and dates of exams and so forth. So there's no substitute for going to Canvas and finding the syllabus and reading it. So I suggest you do that during the first week. I want to point out that this is actually 2 classes in one. I sent an email out yesterday explaining this, but I'll explain it to you again. So there is 1410, section 1, and there's 1410, section 50. Those are lecture sections. It's the same course. The only difference is section 1 has lectures, section 50 has videos. Okay? How many of you are registered for section 50? Okay. I only saw one hand. So the truth is that after the first week, what happens is, sadly, attendance gradually declines over the course of the semester as things happen. And so more and more empty seats open up. So the reality is, if next week, probably this week, anyone in section 50 that wants to come to this lecture, there'll be room for them. There's room right now. So really, this is just a trick to be able to teach a class that's too big for the room that it's in. Okay, the fire marshal won't let me teach a class. This room holds 262 people. They wouldn't let registration go to 350, because we wouldn't fit, even though 350 people never show up. So I create this hybrid section that people register for. They don't officially come to class, but certainly after the first week or two, that's not going to be an issue. Same thing, if you decide you'd rather look at the videos online, they're there too. So except for that little trick with the lectures, it's the same everything. The labs are the same, the exams, the assignments, the grading, everything's the same. Okay, so the lectures, as you know, are in here Monday and Wednesday. And there are 50-minute labs on Tuesday. And they're scheduled from, first one starts at 8:35, the last one ends at 5. There are 4 hours, 4 slots during that day when there are 2 labs meeting at the same time. So at the most popular times, we schedule multiple labs. Every hour there's a lab in NED 3225. And in those 4 double scheduled hours, there's also a lab in Web L130. Now, depending on when you registered, you may think that L130 lab's in a different room. It was originally scheduled for room 31 something, but things happened. So you need to go to either 3225 or L130. Now, there's a lab tomorrow. It's an important lab, but I'm telling you in advance that it's going to be absolute chaos, because everyone that's that's registered is going to want to go. People that aren't registered are going to want to go to keep from getting behind. It may be overcrowded. Things might not work quite right. So I just want to prepare you. I prepared the TAs last week. Expect chaos. I'll tell all of you to expect chaos. This first lab, I'm going to explain what you'll be doing. Okay, so first let me say, for these labs, you need to bring your laptop. Okay? If you don't have a laptop, there are some we can loan to you just during the lab. But it works best if you bring your own laptop. And what you'll be doing is essentially installing the software we'll be using this semester. So you'll be installing Java, the programming language, Eclipse, the programming language environment. You'll be installing a plugin I wrote that makes the class run more easily. Yeah?
You wrote it for your own class?
Yeah. And then you'll be just getting a little bit of practice with doing the sort of things you'll be doing, like looking at a program, running it, and submitting it for grading. Yeah?
If I'm going to get a laptop, should I get an Apple or a standard PC?
Okay, he's asking if he's going to get a laptop, should you get a PC or a Mac or a Linux or whatever. It doesn't matter from my standpoint. All the stuff I mentioned will run on any machine. Okay? So get what you prefer. Now, typically, labs are graded on attendance. So you come, you do all the stuff you're supposed to do, you get credit. Or you come, you don't finish everything you're supposed to do, but you stay the whole time, you get credit. Okay? This first lab is an exception. The lab is in Canvas right now. You just follow a set of steps. So don't expect to go to the lab and be lectured to. You'll be sitting around with other people doing stuff. You go through all the steps and get to the last step, which is to submit something to be graded. Not even something you wrote, something I wrote. Then if you submit the thing, then you get credit. So here's what I suggest. About 15 people have already done the lab, despite the fact I didn't really point it out. But they found the lab yesterday and did it. So more of you do that. Now, if you want to go after class, if you can't wait to get going, if you're good at installing software on your computers, feel free to just do the lab and Be done with it, and then don't go tomorrow. If you do the lab, please don't go tomorrow. There'll be nothing for you to do, and it'll just make chaos. Okay? Yeah. Wait, I can't hear.
I think you mentioned that you have to finish an assignment in class 6 or last. What if you're unable to finish during
Okay, if you do a lab, so the other thing is I don't expect, it may take more than 50 minutes for you to do the lab. Maybe you won't finish in lab tomorrow. So technically I put the due date is tomorrow at 11:59, but in reality, anything I assign the first 2 weeks of class before Labor Day, they're going to have due dates, but I will automatically extend everything until the Tuesday after Labor Day, September something, the first Tuesday in September. That's because of this chaos factor in the first week. People keep adding the class and asking for extensions, and so I'll just give everyone a blanket extension. So this isn't an invitation to put everything on to that Tuesday, but it's just, if you need a little extra time to get going, that gives you a bailout option. Yeah.
How early were the assignment descriptions done? Like before the assignments?
Well, I'll talk about that when I get to assignments. Yeah.
Do you have practice materials to prepare us for exams? I mean, by like practice exams or?
Yeah, he's asking about are there practice exams, and there are, but there won't be an exam till middle of October, so not too worried about that yet. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Okay. So lectures, you've seen what lectures are like. Typically, I'll be programming more, or programming any. And the labs are sort of hands-on practice with TAs and other students around. And the thing about the labs, there's going to be 30 students and 2 TAs. And if every question has to be answered by a TA, it's going to bog down. So get comfortable answering, asking questions of your peers. Other people in the room may know the answer. Then everything will go more smoothly. Okay, there's an online book we're going to be using. Unfortunately, it costs $58 to sign up, but I think it's worth it. And those books the book contains not just reading, but exercises. It contains 2 kinds of exercises. It has what are called participation activities and challenge activities. So what I do is for every lecture, I assign reading from that book. And in fact, I assigned reading for this lecture. I wonder if anyone noticed, because I only did it a couple hours ago. And the deal is you're supposed to read the stuff before lecture and do the participation activities that reading contains before lecture. Okay? So already you're saying, oh no, I missed on that. But what's the bailout? Yeah, you got the automatic extension until the Tuesday after Labor Day. So don't worry about it. But things will work better if you do the reading before class and the participation activities before class. Participation activities are kind of straightforward, little finger exercises, and there are lots of hints and help for getting it right. It's just to make sure that you at least click through the reading. They also contain what they call challenge activities, which are a little more involved, small level programming. And on Fridays at 11:59 p.m., the challenge activities are used for the reading of that week. So every week, if there's not a holiday or an exam or something, there will be 2 participation deadlines and 1 challenge deadline. And all this factors into your grade at some point.
Are the coding challenges in the Zybook, are those like within the Zybook, or do you have to have a separate IDE for it?
Yeah, no, it's all the programming is done within Zybook. Typically, it's going to be, they'll give you some program, and you got to write a little piece. Okay. And you write the little piece, and you run it in the Zybook, and they'll tell you if it's right or not. And, you can play as many times as you want till you get it right. And the way the grading works is, if you get 80% of the available credit for challenge activities, I round that up to 100. Same thing for the challenge activities. So, if you miss it a few times, as long as you do it other times, it doesn't matter.
Can you take those things?
Say again?
Is it one time for challenge activities, and then you can't go back and change it, or can you go back and try it?
Oh, yeah, you can do the challenge activities as many times as you want as well. Okay. There's a midterm and a final. The midterm is October 16th. That's the Wednesday after fall break. And the final is December 12th, which is the absolute latest day, the last day of finals week. So alas, I don't get to pick the day of the final. I'm told when the final is. So I know, maybe you're going to have exams at the beginning of finals week, and you don't want to hang around for this exam, but I'm hanging around, so you are too. So right now, I don't want to hear that your mother made you an airplane reservation without consulting your schedule. If your mother is apt to do that, call her now and tell her that you have an exam on December 12th. I just mentioned we'll be programming in Java using Eclipse. The course grade is 42% on assignments. I haven't even talked about assignments yet. And 42% on exams. And then Zybook is 6% challenge, 6% participation, and lab 4% based on attendance. And you need to do reasonably well in both assignments and exams to get more than a B+. So I'm not impressed when someone is getting 100 in all the programming assignments and then somehow gets 20 on the exams, which can happen. That seems kind of fishy to me. So you've got to do okay. Yeah.
Is the exam like on paper?
Yeah, the exams are on paper in here. Yeah. Okay, and I guess I did talk about assignments. Programming assignments are really the most important practice. That's where we see, and you really took the stuff you learned in practice. So they'll come out on Fridays and be due on Thursdays. So your first assignment, PS1, will come out Friday, maybe earlier, involved, and it'll be due on Thursday. So you'll be spending a fair amount of time on those assignments. Now, working with others is a good way to learn, and I encourage it. Okay? Handing in a group solution, I do not encourage. So when I talk about working with others, you sit around, you talk to each other, you figure out how to attack the problem, but you don't sit there and write a program that the 4 people in the group or the 2 people in the group go and each type in. Right? Anything you hand in has to be written by you. I'll talk more about this. Well, I'll talk some more about it today and some more when we actually have an assignment. So it doesn't have to be this lonely, solitary experience. It's nice to have peers and to talk to them and reinforce each other. But again, your goal should not be to produce a group solution. It's just to get everyone with enough understanding they can do their own solution. Yeah.
Do we have to work in groups?
You do not have to work in groups. Yeah.
So are there any extracurricular activity that we could do, like clubs or stuff for after school? Well, when college gets out, so that we can progress our education in our
Yeah, he's asking about clubs and such, and there are, but I could talk about that outside of class. Yeah.
Where do we get the code from Zybook?
The code it's on Canvas. Yeah, go to the resources page. Okay. 31 students failed this class last fall for cheating. Okay? That was a little less than 10% of the class. And by far the most common way they cheated was they didn't work too closely with someone in their group. They handed in a solution of another student from the previous semester, from the previous year. And when, at first, in fact, I thought that's what had happened. That they had a friend that had taken it a year ago, and they took the solution to the problem and handed it in as their own work. Now, clearly, we'd agree that's all cheating. You just take some of the solution and hand it in. But actually, what they did was they found the previous year's solution of some student on GitHub or other websites like Chegg. It's Chegg, right? I didn't even know what Chegg was until I discovered that they were hosting solutions. And you can go to Chegg, and if you pay to join Chegg, you can type in a question. The question will be, here's my assignment. Can someone write the program for me? And apparently, former students were all too happy to give their solution and get paid for it. But it's really easy to detect that because I have all the solutions from last year. Everything every student submitted. All I had to do was compare last year's students to this year's students. And that's what happened. And I wasn't on the ball about it, by the way. I waited till after finals week to do this. So these 31 students went through the pain of all the, of the exams anyway. I guess they were cheating on the assignment. And then they got kind of a rude awakening. It ruined my Christmas and it ruined theirs too. So don't do that. Yeah.
Can we use websites just
Well, I'm not saying you can't use the internet. If you can't remember how a for loop works, you can certainly look that up. But you can't go looking up the solution to the exact problem you're doing. Yeah.
Do you have any assignments that are like simple enough that you could accidentally plagiarize? This first. I guess the first assignment you could accidentally plagiarize, but I don't really look at that very carefully because of that reason. Yeah, it's not really a problem. Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing as him. There aren't any assignments where you're going to end. There's really only one obvious way to do it. It's like you can do inefficient ways.
Yeah.
There's an obvious way to do it, and so people are going to have things that look all.
Yeah, I mean, the cases I'm talking about, there was just no question what was going on. It was big, long programs that were amazingly similar. So, and when I talk to students, often they would say, oh, I got this solution, but I didn't copy it. I just looked at it for inspiration. But what was handed in wasn't inspired by it. It was copied. So here's the deal. If the police come to your house and they find that you have heroin, is it an offense to say, oh, I didn't use it? No. It's against the law to possess heroin, no matter what you do with it. And same thing, in this class, it's against the law to possess someone else's solution to an assignment, no matter what you plan to do with it. So just don't do that. Okay? I don't mean to freak you out. Any questions about that? Any other questions? Yeah.
So is it if you're just like caught once plagiarizing, then it's a fail for the class?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. It's a one-strike policy. So don't get that strike. Yeah.
For the section, so is that like if you're already enrolled in the lecture, can we still enroll in that?
No, you can enroll in section 1 or section 50, not both.
Oh, so like for the video, is there like the?
Oh, the videos will be linked to Canvas in some way.
Oh,
You can certainly watch the videos.
it's so.
It'll take a few hours after class to get them up, but yeah.
Will the new lecture replace the old lecture, or will all of them be available?
No, they'll all be available all semester. And if you want to see what's coming up, you can look at the videos from last year. And they're sitting there on YouTube. No, it's not the same channel. If you just search for CS 1410 Utah fall 2018, you'll find it. Okay. So one thing I like to do in the middle of class is take a few-minute break, just to let everyone kind of relax and recharge. So let's take a break. And what I suggest you do, you're sitting around people that, you're going to certainly be with in this class. You might be working with these people for the next 4 years. So introduce yourself to people around you, make some friends.